All right. So you guys are getting a little bit of the behind the scenes, what's happening in Yucatan with me, Stephanie Carmen. We're at Radio Mundo 89.3 with a special guest today, Joe Tompkins, who is a costume designer from Hollywood, two-time Oscar nominated costume designer and two-time Emmy winner costume designer. And so he's got lots of stories to tell. So we're going to get going here on the radio. Again, you get a little bit of the behind the scenes right there. So, yes, let's see. I think we are ready. Listo? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What's Happening Yucatan, your Friday night show with me, Stephanie Carmen. For those of you who do not know me, I am the creator and editor of Mid-City Beat, an English publication online. We are super active on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as we have a website, www.midcitybeat.com. We also have an events calendar, events.midcitybeat.com, which you have got to check out. There are events going up on there every single day. We try to get at least 5 to 10 events up there every day, so you can imagine. That's a lot of work and a lot of things to do in this city, right? Mostly in the city. Some things outside in Valladolid or Campeche, little by little, but mostly happening right here in Merida, which of course, December, there's so much going on. I have my guest today, Joe, was just saying how you've been having a lot of parties as well, right? Christmas parties, yes. Dinner parties, exactly, right? So I'm gonna, before I get into the interview, I have a few shout outs, but I do want you all to hold your horses because today I have a really special guest. This is Joe Tompkins, and Joe Tompkins is an acclaimed costume designer who has nominated for 2 Oscars, won 2 Emmys, and we are going to get into his story and how he made it here to Yucatan. So I'm excited to hear all of the stories about his creative profession, very creative profession. So do not go anywhere. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about tourism here in Yucatan. And of course, it's destination wedding time. Well, it's wedding time in general because everybody likes to come and get married here in Yucatan during this time of the year, which is really perfect weather. Finally, really good weather. And it's very popular for destination wedding. It's one of the most popular destinations or places for couples to come and get married. And of course, the destination wedding scene is really booming. And, so I've been doing some research here, going to haciendas and talking with wedding planners and caterers just to kind of get the scoop and to get our mid-city recommendations. And so we've been working with Yucatán Love, and we had them on the show not too long ago talking about their extensive work with destination weddings. They are booked to the brim right now, but they do such a wonderful job. And if you're thinking of coming and getting married in Yucatan, it's a beautiful place with all the haciendas and the beaches and all of the things here that we have to offer in this state. And Yucatán Love will take you from the very beginning, from a video call of you back home in your house and just telling them what your dream wedding would look like. And they create everything for you and make it all come true. And they see it all the way through. So they're a really great resource, Yucatán Love. Again, you can check them out on their website or on social media. But also they one of the caterers that they work with that I was with not too long ago as well. And checking out some of the things that they're doing is Alta Porta Catering, which they have, I think, over 6,000 pieces of event furniture. So it's huge. They have a huge warehouse of event furniture that, set up in these spectacular haciendas. Just looks absolutely magical. So they have their furniture event rentals, but they also have incredible food. Their catering. They have a staff. They have an army basically of staff and wait staff and lots of different chefs. And I did a taste test in their showroom, and so I got to taste about 5 or 6 of their dishes. But Alta Porta is definitely a catering company with more than 30 years experience that if you are looking for any event really, or for your wedding, they are a really good option here in Yucatan, absolutely professional. And also, I checked out Hacienda San Antonio Hall not too long ago. It was the first time I had been there. Joe, have you been to Hacienda San Antonio Hall? before?
No.
No, because they are open actually for breakfast and lunch. So you can anybody can go there, and they have day passes as well, and it's a hotel. But it's pretty small. But for wedding events, it's spectacular. It's beautiful. It's beautiful because, of course, they have that balance where they've restored and they continue with the traditions of the historic hacienda, but also there's a designer from Mexico City that has kind of revamped the hacienda, and it's just really a beautiful mix of style and keeping that really historic Yucatan. And for events or for weddings, it's off the charts. So that's Hacienda San Antonio Whole. You can check them out on their website as well. If you are looking for a place for your wedding or for your event, or just to go have breakfast, it's nice to get out of town. It's not too far. It's just past Sitia, which is depending on where you're on the city. I'm in the centro, so it's about a 25-minute drive. So yeah, wedding season, the season of love. Also, for a restaurant shout out, I just went to a new spot that is hot on the culinary scene right now. It's called Ariadna, which I have a hard time saying that name. Ariadna, Ariadna. Have you heard of that restaurant, Joe?
No.
Okay, it's brand new. It's on the 47 and the 52. So it's kind of a kitty corner to Micaela. And so it's across from Micaela. Beautiful.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen it because they've been doing construction over there. And it's absolutely stunning. Aesthetically, it's beautiful, right? Again, it's that combination of the old colonial houses where the trees are climbing up the walls, but then, they also have a nice new structure in there with air conditioning, etc. And the food was great. It's international cuisine. We had a steak, but I also had a flatbread and a salad, and it was just, they have a wide variety of choices, and the food was really good. And of course, they have a whole cocktail scene. So definitely check that out, Ariadna in the Centro of Merida, as you are wandering around this December and enjoying your Christmas season for sure. So, without further ado, I'm going to formally introduce my guest. Here I have Joe Tompkins, who, again, like I said, is an acclaimed costume designer with a remarkable career spanning decades. He has been nominated twice for an Academy Award in costume design for the category for Cross Creek and also for Harlem Nights. And in 1997, he was nominated for Outstanding Costume Design for his special for his work in Titanic and the CBS episode of Titanic. And also in his early career, he won an Emmy for Outstanding Achievement in Costume Design for a drama special, the Eleanor and Franklin, and then again the White House years, Eleanor and Franklin, right? So yes, welcome, and of course he has lots more that he has designed for it as well, and we'll get into that. So welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you. This is fun.
Yes, it's really fun. It's really fun. So okay, so let's go back a little bit in your history. You're from Texas, right?
Right.
And so how is it that one gets into costume designing? How did you get into costume designing?
I was attending a junior college near my home in Texas with every intention of being a veterinarian.
Oh.
And I had an advisor who told me I should be in the arts and enrolled me in various classes, and I kind of got hooked into the theater department. And so I was acting in the theater department, but we had nobody to design the clothes and sets, and so I started doing that as well. And from that, it just kind of blossomed, and I started getting scholarships and things, and I was going to school forever. And finally, one day I decided I couldn't just go to school.
Right.
I had to get out of school and go to work.
Right.
So
when you started with the costume or with the set designing and costume design, that I guess opened up a passion that you had that you didn't necessarily know that you had for design in the theater.
Yes. Yes,
and what was it specifically about set design and costume design that really drew you in?
It was the visuals. I'm very visually oriented, and anyway, I was doing summer stock sets or costumes, and sometimes both
Mm-hmm.
in summer stock, starting when I was 19 for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And anyway, that's
And summer stock. Okay, so when you say summer stock, what are you referring to exactly? What do you mean?
summer stock. It's theaters that are only open in the summer and do like a play every 2 weeks or something. I mean, it's like fast and furious presentations.
Right.
And
So do you design the costumes? Do you actually also make them, sew them,
no,
put them together? No.
no.
Okay, so
I
this is
can.
okay.
And in summer stock, I did because I never had, cutters and fitters.
Right.
I just had whoever they could get.
Right.
Anyway,
Because there was more of a low budget.
yeah,
Right.
but no, mainly I would do the sketches and take them in and go over them with the cutters and fitters and they would make the costumes.
Wow. Okay, so now let's talk about your journey to LA because you decided to move to LA. So when did you move to LA?
Oh, it was in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I had promised myself at that point that I would either have designed a Broadway show or have done a major motion picture by the time I was 30.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I set a big goal.
That's a big goal.
Right off
We
the
like
top.
that. An ambitious goal.
And I won my first Emmy when I was 31.
You
So
did.
it was only 1 year off
Wow.
in getting it done.
That's spectacular. Okay, so why did you choose LA and not New York?
I had ended up in San Diego doing costumes for a theater there, and I got an invitation to come to Los Angeles to do the Free Shakespeare Festival.
Mm-hmm.
The very first summer they did the Free Shakespeare Festival.
Right.
And so I went to LA to do that and started getting involved in theater there. I mean, I've never really made many plans.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of go where I'm pointed.
Go, where the opportunity takes you.
And it was going well in Los Angeles, so I stayed.
Wow. All right. Well, we are going to have to take a quick break for a commercial, but do not go away. We're going to get a little bit more into Joe's really fascinating career. Don't go away. Welcome back to What's Happening Yucatan, your Friday night show with me, Stephanie Carmon, here at Radio Mundo 89.3. And tonight I'm here with Joe Tompkins, who is a costume designer who has 2 Oscar nominations, has won 2 Emmy Awards, and also has been nominated for other Emmys. And so we're talking about his journey into this really creative and fascinating career. So, he's taken us from, his hometown in Texas, and now we're at his stage in LA. So you started designing for the Free Shakespeare, I guess, the festival in
Right.
LA, right?
Right.
Okay. So from there, you say, how is it that you expanded into feature films?
I got a job working at ABC Movie of the Week,
Okay.
and I was really a costumer. I was really a guy who put the clothes on the actors and made sure they were clean and blah blah blah. It was a kind of
So you weren't designing.
It was a low
Okay.
It was a low level position, but then I heard that ABC was going to be doing Eleanor and Franklin, and I begged my boss in my department in the theater in the costume department to get me an interview, because I really wanted to do it, and so he said he would, and so I started to work immediately. I got a script, and by the time I went in for my interview with David Siskine's people, he was the producer.
Okay.
I had most of the show designed. I had just a huge stack of sketches.
Oh my gosh.
And,
so you just worked on this night and day, or stayed up all night working on your sketches. So what would be what would be the amount of historical deep dive that you would have to do in order to create these costumes?
Pretty big,
Right.
because at that point, I mean, people still remember the Roosevelts,
Right.
but there's so much, there's so many photos of them that, and people remember them so well that you have to take into consideration what they wore on particular occasions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you have to work with that, you know.
Right.
And sometimes you're a bit freer, but the inaugurations, I mean, those photos are there and, you know, big as life, and so you know, you had to have the right top hat for him, and you had to have the right fur for her, and the whole thing, you know.
Right. So what did you do? You just went through archives of media files, or at the
Yes.
library, or what was it?
Yes.
What was that process?
A lot of photographic.
Because it's different, because it was before, you know, you could Google everything and get all these organized.
And then there were a lot of like everyday clothes when there were, and that you just kind of, you took your cumulative knowledge that you'd gotten from looking at all the pictures of them to figure out what their taste would have been like to create those costumes that fill in the spaces
Right.
between the big things, you know. And also there were no real pictures of her wedding dress or any of those things, but so of course I was free to, you know, come up with something for that. But the wedding dress, the wedding dress, I mean, is so well photographed. It's in every book about you know, that had to be recreated down to the last pearl.
Right.
So,
the last button. Wow.
Yeah. So it was putting together a lot, you know, putting together the imagination and the factual and
Right.
making it work.
So at that point, did you have a team working with you to help you investigate, or was this something that you did personally investigate?
Oh no, I had I had a small team.
Right. Yeah.
A small team who helped me put it all together, and a wonderful lady named Margot Baxley,
Mm-hmm.
who had been in the business for a few years longer than me and really knew where all the clothes were hidden and all the stuff was tucked away and where to find everything. And she kind of got me going, you know, and helped me navigate Los Angeles.
Right.
But later on, I mean, I had, even though it was a huge project, and I had so few people, later on I had crews of hundreds. I mean, I had so many people, like on Harlem Nights, it was a huge film, and I had lots and lots of people. And missing, a film with Sissy Spacek and Jack Lemmon and Melanie Mayron,
Right.
about which was supposedly set in Chile, which we shot in Mexico City.
Oh, you did?
And that was my first trip anywhere except over the border
Oh, really?
in Mexico. And I got to live in Mexico City for 3 months, and
That's
you
amazing.
know.
And so that was what were the years then?
that was like 78, 79,
Okay.
somewhere in there. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, and there was some great style in Mexico City at that point in time too.
Yeah, and but I had a huge crew, mostly Mexican
Mm-hmm.
crew on that, and fell in love with Mexico and knew I would be back at that point.
Right.
And anyway, sometimes you have tiny crews. I mean, sometimes I was asked to do miracles with, you know, a couple of helpers, and other times I would have so many people I would be, and I wanted to keep them all working. So,
Right.
you know, I would be going crazy trying to figure out jobs to keep all these people in. But it depended on the project. If Eddie Murphy was involved at that time, you could have a huge budget, and you know the studio would let you have anything. You know? So
Right. Depending on the film or on the show.
right.
The budget that you have. So what is it? You know, as you got bigger and bigger. Well, I guess when you went to Hollywood, you got your first Emmy 1 year later.
After it was, yes. After the film was televised, yes.
After, right. So, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going back in the history. Okay, so you got to Hollywood when you were how old?
I was 31 when I did that.
You were 30 when you did that, right? So it was very short. So, you know, as you got to more and more films, what was it about a film that drew you in? Was it something like you would say, okay, Harlem Nights, I want to do that one, or would you pick and choose, or how? What was that process?
I would pick and choose quite often on the just but because I don't know, you know, sometimes
Wasn't that
because it was a job, and my agent would say this is worth doing, and I would say I don't know. That happened to me with Beetlejuice.
Oh, really? You worked on Beetlejuice?
No, I refused to go in for the interview, which was the stupidest move I've ever made in my life. It was like when I turned down Romancing the Stone.
Oh, you did.
Because Sissy Spacek wanted me, and I had done 5 films with her in a row. So I couldn't very well say no to her. So I said no to Michael Douglas instead.
Oh my gosh.
And the film I did with her tanked. Missing the Stone would have been a huge event.
It was a huge hit. So. Yeah. So, okay. So why did you turn down Beetlejuice? Because that would have seemed like a really creative project to work on.
I read the script and I didn't quite get it. It just didn't click with me. You know, I don't know. I just didn't. But one of my best friends, Aggie Rogers, did it, and it was perfect for her.
Yeah.
She's just lunatic enough to carry it all.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to take another commercial break, but we will be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to What's Happening YUCATÁN, your Friday night show with me, Stephanie Carmen. And tonight we are speaking with Joe Tompkins, who is a costume designer from Hollywood, 2-time nominated Oscar Award winner and 2-time Emmy Award winner. And so we're talking about his very interesting and creative career here. So, you know, he was just telling us how, you know, he's worked on so many films. There was a couple of them, though, he kicks himself for not taking. You know, he didn't take the Romance in the Stone and Beetlejuice, or 2 that he passed up, right? Are there any other films that you passed up where you're like, oh, I would have loved to have done that?
Not really.
No.
There's some that later I said I shouldn't have done. But anyway.
That's how it goes. So what was your favorite film? Do you have one, or maybe one of your favorite films?
I think my 2 favorites are Coal Miner's Daughter, which was a real tour de force for a designer.
Right.
And
in what way?
Because it covers such a period of time, the 40s in Kentucky, in a small coal mining town, poor family, blah, blah, you know, and the community, and dealing with all that, and then going to moving to Washington State, and that was a whole change in style, and the family, Loretta Lynn and her husband were more affluent and, you know, better clothes, and then they come to Nashville, and they're like the poor relations in Nashville, and then they start becoming more and more powerful, and she becomes, you know, the most famous country western singer, you know, of her time. So you're really growing as you go, and there were certain costumes that you had to do for her when you're dealing with real people,
right,
you know, who have been photographed. You always have things. There's a little white dress with red polka dots that figures very big in the film. And one, I guess it was Thanksgiving or something, the director, Michael Apted, took myself, the production designer, and who else? The writer,
Mhm.
to Nashville, to Hurricane Mills, which is their antebellum mansion out in the country, to spend the weekend with them, with Loretta and her husband. You know,
Oh, wow,
and
yeah.
that was an amazing experience. You know,
Yeah.
because Sissy and I are, and Sissy too, and Sissy and I are sitting there talking to Loretta about you know what she wore when and blah 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 blah, and out of the blue she says, "You know, I still have all those clothes,"
Oh
and
my
we
gosh.
both just went
Your jaw,
melted on the
your
floor.
jaw dropped,
You know,
right?
and most of it didn't fit anymore, or didn't fit Sissy, or you know, some, but it gave us a really good roadmap. You know, for
Right.
things. But this little white dress with the red polka dots, which she had made herself, and which she wore the first time she was in the Grand Ole Opry, and when she during her whole rise,
Right.
you know, there was always this little white dress with the red polka dots and a white cowboy hat. And anyway, I knew we had to have that dress. So here, Sissy's got it. Of course, it's too small. I mean, Loretta's got it. It's too small for Sissy,
Right.
but I've got something to work with. I mean, something to copy, something to make a pattern from, you know, and get every rhinestone in the right
Every
place and
little
every little diddle
detail.
and daddle and, you know, and it was, I think it really kind of made the film.
Absolutely.
You know, it's one of those pieces.
Well, absolutely. You know, because when you watch a film, I mean, the costume design is such an important part of the storytelling. And it really does, you know, tell someone's story, what it is that they're wearing. I mean, how you as a professional costume designer, how is it that you can tell somebody's story or their, you know, I guess have their personality come out through their clothes?
You've got to be a bit of a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to look at the character or whoever you're dealing with, the person or whatever. And there's so many things you have to add together to create something on the outside that's going to project what they are on the inside.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to really kind of pull it out of the soul and represent it, you know.
Right. Can you give us like an example? Does one particular, I'm sure several do, but something that sticks out, an example of that?
Oh God, let me think. Well, Nuts with Barbara Streisand was,
Wow.
you know, was a trip, and you know, she plays a very high-priced prostitute and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. Now, this pulling all this stuff together and making, you know, and getting it to work was really kind of multiplied in its problems by the fact that you're dealing with Miss Streisand, who is adorable, by the way, but she gets her own way every time.
Okay.
Do not ever doubt that you're not going to be doing what she wants in the end. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So there weren't very many clothes in the film, thank God. And every time I would go to her house, you know, to talk about the clothes, I would take at least 4 sketches for one costume.
Mm-hmm.
4 things that I believed in, that I believed worked, you know. And she would go, I think that's good, and I like the hat, and I like the way the skirt fits, and you know, and then you'd kind of start pulling it all together. But in the end, you ended up with exactly what she wanted, you know. But it was so much fun because she was so charming. She is the biggest star I've ever worked with, who would come on the set every morning and know everybody's name and say good morning, even the guy that swept the floor.
Oh, wow.
She was fabulous. I can't tell you, but she was a pain in the, you know.
Very perfectionist.
Yeah.
Strong-willed.
But
Right?
she tried us all, and you know, and I guess I survived.
You survived.
She invited me to design her outfit for remember when she did a concert in her backyard as a benefit to the
Yeah.
Democrats for
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
anyway, she wanted me to design that outfit. And we came up with something she liked. But she didn't know if it's going to be cold that night or warm. She didn't know if white was going to work better or black was going to work better. And we wouldn't know until the dress rehearsal. And it was all lit. So we made the dress 4 times in black knit, white knit,
Oh my gosh.
black 4-ply silk, and white 4-ply silk.
Wow.
And on the night of the
Which makes sense, I guess. Somewhere. Okay. Yeah.
on the night of the dress rehearsal, when she sent limousines to pick us all up, everybody who had helped her put this thing together, she sent limousines to drive us from LA out to Malibu to her house
Wow.
for the dress rehearsal. So that was pretty fabulous.
That's
Sitting on the front row, looking right up her tonsils. You know, not many people get a chance to do that.
yeah, and saying I designed that dress
Yes.
that she's wearing.
Yeah, and the only place I know to see it is on the cover of the album or the CD, the One Voice.
Right.
CD.
That's wow. That's just so spectacular. Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure you had to also. You think the costume designer has all the power, but the actors and the directors. I mean, how much of an opinion are they saying? Nope, that's not going to work. I don't want this, and I don't want this. I mean.
Yeah, first you've got to please them.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so.
I mean, how many versions, right, of each?
Being a psychologist is really
Yeah.
so true because you're dealing with so many people you have to please.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. When I first got into the business, it was the old Hollywood. The old Hollywood was starting to die out.
Mm-hmm.
And the last of the great designers were dying out. And like when I first joined the union, all of our meetings were at Edith Head's house.
Oh.
And so I would go to Edith's house for for the meetings from time to time, and got to know her a bit. But at that time, the designers were pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
The directors and producers were very strong,
Mm-hmm.
so that you were working with people like Marty Ritt or somebody who was, like tops,
Right.
and slowly it got more and more expensive to make films, and the studios became more cautious, and the accountants became stronger, and suddenly that's why I finally left the business. The accountants were it was all about pleasing the accountants. I wasn't trying to please the visionary producers and the visionary directors.
Wow. It came down to finances.
Yes, and I don't know.
Which always kind of kills the creative process,
I
right?
don't do that well.
They don't really. They're not a very good marriage.
No.
Finance and creativity.
But it all seems to be loosening up again now, and I see a lot of the young designers doing some really marvelous stuff, and I know that they're getting a lot of money in those budgets in order to do this, and I'm really, really happy because there was a period there when it was tough.
When it was tough. Well, we are going to take another commercial break and be back for the final words here with Joe, so don't go away. Welcome back to What's Happening YUCATÁN, your Friday night show with me, Stephanie Carmen, and we are finishing up our show here with Joe Tompkins, who is an acclaimed costume designer with 2 Oscar nominations, 2 Emmy Awards winning. He was a two-time Emmy Award winner, as well as nominated for another Emmy. And he has worked on so many films, has done such incredible work. One thing he was telling me too, also before the interview, is something that was very memorable was working with Cheech and Chong on Cheech and Chong's movie. And so why was that, what was memorable about that?
What was memorable about that?
Yes.
It was because it totally broke my usual pattern, but my agent said, oh, by the way, they're going to pay 3 times what you usually make. And I said, I'll do it.
So what was it? Did they say, we want Joe? Did they say
I guess. I don't know.
You were in high demand.
But it just happened. I didn't even have to interview. Suddenly I was the costume designer and I was making more money than I made before.
Oh my God, how fun.
Because the studio knew it was going to be a cut your wrists job, you know? And it was. And
in what way?
Huh?
In what way?
In that they were kind of difficult. Tommy Chong was very difficult.
Oh, really?
Not because he wanted to be, it's just that he's a child.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see on screen is what you get in real life.
Okay.
I mean, that's him.
Wow. Okay.
Then Cheech Marin is a fabulous actor, fabulous man, fabulous businessman. And working with him was wonderful. Working with Tommy was like herding ducks, you know. So they would change there were certain scenes, they were writing the script too.
Right.
And there were certain scenes that they would go home at night, rewrite, come in the next morning, and suddenly you'd have this scene set in a music store involving like 40 people in different capacities who would suddenly change and become a band or become a backup group or, you know, and you'd come in, you know, to work in the morning and you'd have the script in front of you and they would say, this is what we're going to shoot today. And you would go.
Yeah, so what would you do? I mean, how is that even possible?
I had a huge crew. The studio knew this was going to be impossible. And so.
That's why they paid so much. We're paying you, so you're going to have to deal with the impossible.
Right. So I sent everybody on my crew out to get certain things. We knew where things were that we could rent or borrow or steal or, you know, to make all this happen. You know, so I got all the transportation department to give us all cars, and everybody went in a different direction to get their assignments. And I told the studio that we would be ready to shoot by noon. Somehow we'd be ready to shoot.
And what time did you get there?
Oh, we'd start about 7.
Oh my, so that's 5 hours.
Yeah.
To think of what they're gonna get and then figure out where it is and go get it.
So anyway, so I'm there. I send everybody off and I stay there and shake. And after a couple of hours, Cheech comes down to the costume office and he said, we've decided we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else instead. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And we're not going to shoot that scene in the music store. They did it, but they did it in a different way. But anyway, here I didn't have a person to take the clothes to the dressing rooms. I didn't have any help from anybody.
Oh my God.
And I was on the phone trying to get everybody back.
Well,
before cell phones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what year is this? Because this is before cell phones.
Oh my God, what a nightmare. But anyway.
So how did it get resolved? Did it get resolved by noon?
Oh yeah, we got it pulled together and got them on the set.
Are you kidding me? So you're not just a costume designer, you're a miracle maker, a miracle worker.
Well, you know, we were working out of Universal, and they have a huge stock of clothes. You know, so I mean, I was going down the aisles just throwing clothes in all directions, coming up with stuff to do this
Oh
with.
my gosh, that would have been really fun to have somebody like recording in the behind the scenes of you and that.
But also Tommy's wife wanted to get involved. So she wanted to hire her hairdresser to do the hair for, I had these 12 ladies from outer space who we had done these very high fashion space outfits for. I mean, they were really pretty extraordinary. And we had designed hair, which was very, very cool, very, very good stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And so the morning we were going to shoot this, out of the blue arrives Tommy's wife's hairdresser, and he's going to do all the girls' hair. And he starts doing all these things that were straight out of Harper's Bazaar, 1958. You know, and they've got these incredible, you know, state of the art, really high fashion clothes on. The whole thing was horrible. And it was just, and there was nothing I could do but go,
But like, put your head with your head in your
there was
hand.
nothing I could do but go to lunch and deal with it.
Wow. Well, we only have a few minutes left. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2 because there are way more stories to tell for sure. But I do just for the last few minutes, you came to Merida 13 years ago. And, since then, have you been doing some creative work with the same, like any costumes or I know you were teaching English to students at where were you? And then Anawakmaya.
Yeah.
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
Which was, how did you get involved with that?
I knew I would have to have something to do
Uh-huh.
when I left the States. And so I took a class in teaching English as a foreign language online and got certified and started writing letters to various cities in Mexico that I knew I liked. And I had more reactions from Merida than from any other city for schools. And anyway, they took me on.
They took you on.
I only did a few hours a week, but still.
But still, yeah.
But I learned so much. I don't know if my students learned anything. And it doesn't really matter anymore. But I learned so much about the culture and the history and just being here and how to be a part of things.
Yeah.
And I had wonderful, brilliant students.
Oh,
It was
that's so lovely.
It was a very high intensity English. I mean, very advanced English.
Right.
Class.
The kids at that school are
with graduate
have good English
students.
levels usually. Yeah.
So anyway.
That's wild. And did they ever know who you were? Did they know you were a big time costume designer from Hollywood?
I don't know if my students ever did.
Well,
My boss
hopefully they're listening to this on the radio and
My
they're
boss
like,
did.
that was my teacher. What? Well, I'm sure now you know that. I know some of the teachers in the fashion department of the Mayab, Mayab. And I'm sure they would love to have you as a guest speaker for one of their classes. That would be fun.
Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It's been such a fun interview. It's fun to hear all the stories and so many things that you think of when you watch a production. I mean, I do personally notice the costume design, especially if it's outstanding. It's like, whoa, that is outstanding, right? It is something that really sets the scene and tells the story and tells the personal story.
Yeah.
And
Watch the things you don't think matter.
Uh-huh.
Watch the people dressed to go to market.
Yeah.
In a sequence in a film, because you've got their history.
Yeah.
They're dragging that along with them, and they've got their function of the moment, and all of this has to be considered, and all of it has to work. Yeah,
absolutely. It's really interesting. Well, thanks so much for coming, Joe. And that's it for tonight. I will see everybody next week. You can be listening next week. And don't forget to follow us on Mid-City Beat, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website at www.midcitybeat.com. You can follow Radio Mundo. They're on Facebook and Instagram as well. And they're also on Twitter. And, of course, we have got lots of shows here on Radio Mundo 89.3. And that's it. Thanks so much, Joe.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you. All right, enjoy your Friday night. Stay safe and have fun. All right. Very cool. All right, and you all enjoy your Saturday morning because this is coming out on Saturday morning.
Well, you do this so well. I'm so impressed.
Oh,